It is Monday, August 12th, 2024. This is another edition of Football Today. We are reunited. It is the triumvirate of Rose, Skinner, Penik. Hello, boys. It's good to see you once again. Good to be seen. How is everybody doing now that everybody has played at least one preseason game?
We're good. Glad to see you're back from suspension.
Yes.
I watched every single rookie throw this weekend, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I'm going to have a lot of fun talking about it. How are you guys?
Good. I think, I had a chance to call the Browns-Packers preseason game on Saturday. So that's always a lot of fun. You get to see some interesting guys out there and people who you don't think will contribute to your team at some point this year, but undoubtedly will.
But will contribute to your memories down the road. Who's that guy this year? Who's like not going to be like have a regular season moment, but you'll always remember for his preseason performance?
Oh boy. I was happy for Cade York. If you remember, he was
he's back. He was on our practice squad last year. Actually, no, we signed him and he never played.
Exactly. He got hurt. He was back in Cleveland doing the kicking. Nothing wrong with Dustin Hopkins, but I think they wanted to showcase York. Hit a 55-yarder, which was good for that kid. Hopefully he finds a job and finds his way because he was a really talented fourth-round pick. Nailed that 58-yarder in his first game ever to help the Browns break that week one non-winning streak. Remember, it was like a 20 straight games.
Yes.
So there you go.
Unfortunately for Cade York, he probably had like the most used tweet ever. Is after that game, the Browns tweeted out like, "That's why you draft a kicker," and then after that, it was downhill. So every time he made a mistake, that would just show up on my timeline 20 times.
Yeah.
So glad that he's kind of getting back on his feet. The Giants signed him last year to an active roster, and then they put, I think, Randy Bullock on the practice squad. Yet York never actually played. They just kept on elevating Randy Bullock from the practice squad.
That was very strange.
And then Bullock got injured, and we had to bring in Mason Crosby.
Yeah, but no, York got injured too. I think that's why.
Yeah, he was never healthy, even though we signed him to the active roster.
Yeah. This is way too much kicker talk, I think, at this point in the show. So let's talk some quarterbacks. Friday night, the Steelers trotted out Justin Fields. He started the game. Russell Wilson with that calf. We expect him to be fine. Mike Tomlin's like, no big deal. I expect him to be available in the next preseason game, all that sort of stuff. So Fields engineered 3 drives, went 5 of 6 for 67 yards, ran 3 times for 2 yards, fumbled a couple of snaps, took 2 sacks, got 0 points. Overall, Penik, let's start with you here. We've asked like 18 times if this is a quarterback competition. Did anything change for you?
No, I feel like this is Justin Fields. Let's have some negative plays. Let's look like a statue in the pocket a little bit until we decide to tuck it and run. And I mean, I wish Justin Fields didn't take so many sacks. This conversation would just get so much easier and so much better if Justin Fields just didn't take any sacks.
But these weren't even bad sacks to me, though.
He's standing there.
The second one,
man.
The pocket collapsed and there's no one there. The other one, George Pickens is running a stick route and takes 5 seconds to run the damn route, which is supposed to be a quick route. I watched that game, and I come away more worried about the receivers and Arthur Smith than I do Justin. And Justin Fields didn't do anything to be like, oh, he's turned the corner. Second. But you have, like you said, you have George Pickens doing that on that third down. Like, where's Fields going to throw the ball on that one? And then even that big completion they had on that little like post out route, they had 2 receivers in the same place. Like, so guys either aren't running their right routes or the spacing's really bad in that offense with Arthur Smith. With the things we heard from, Pickett's camp and others, that Steelers receivers ran the wrong route a lot of the time last year, namely George Pickens. I came away from that. Now, the fumble snaps, that's awful. You can't have that type of shit. But the other stuff from Justin Fields, I didn't think the 2 sacks were bad. And the other stuff is like, what is going on offensively here? Are guys running the wrong routes? Is this just bad spacing on what they're asking him to do? I came away more worried about George Pickens in the receiver group than I did Justin Fields.
Well, hold on. There's no way in the world after one preseason game you can be worried about Arthur Smith. I'm not going to buy that. These guys do not run.
My point being is I think guys were running the wrong routes or messing up the timing and stuff.
How's that on Arthur Smith?
No, I'm saying it's on the receivers. That was an issue last year for them. Like, as much stuff as Kenny Pickett took last year, and he should have. His biggest gripe is like guys are in the wrong place all the time, and it seems like there's never anything done about it, and the receivers get away with everything while I take the blame. No, I'm not blaming Arthur Smith, but like at some point these receivers have to be in the right spot and run these routes with the right timing.
Right. I do think. Do you think that Pittsburgh wants him to steal that job away from Russ?
No.
No?
I mean, they said Russ was the starter, so I don't know. And we haven't seen Russ in preseason. He obviously missed some of those practices early on, so I don't really have any idea of where they would want to go if they had to make a decision right now. But it feels like this has been Russ's job the entire offseason.
No, until it's proven to me otherwise, I think they're going to and I think they do like the way that Russell Wilson does quarterbacking better than Justin Fields, where it's going to be more polished. There's going to be less mistakes. Now that may not be true. I just talked about Justin Fields taking sacks. You have Russell Wilson who does the same thing, but I think Russell Wilson is going to make it look prettier, and I think that matters to them.
I think they're the two most sacked quarterbacks since 2021, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, come on down to Pittsburgh, babe.
Yeah, and they were the most. They create their own. Like they were the quarterbacks who created their own sacks the most.
All right, so you guys think that Russell Wilson is undoubtedly the starter. I believe in week 1 they play the Atlanta Falcons, and that's the way it's going to be, and there's no question about it, right?
No, I don't have nothing from this preseason has changed anything because Russell Wilson just hasn't even been out there. You know, like I said, he missed almost the first week of practice and then didn't play in the preseason game. So it just seems like it's going Russell Wilson's way. I would like to see Justin Fields take that job. I think if you get guys in the right place on this offense, he gives you the most upside on it. But Justin Fields is also the ultimate upside. Eventually, you have to just do it type of quarterback.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to the rookie quarterbacks that all played, the first rounders, and we'll start at the top of the draft. Why not with Caleb Williams? He did not play in the Hall of Fame game. He started up in the Bears' trouncing of the Buffalo Bills on Saturday. Worked 2 drives, 4 of 7, 95 yards, 1 carry for 13. Most importantly, ended up with 6 points on the day. Looked pretty good. First snaps for him since the middle of November back at USC. Overall, Bobby Skinner, how excited should Bears fans be just after getting a little taste of what they might see this year?
They should be excited because you saw some special stuff. But I do want to say this disclaimer because we're going to talk about rookie quarterbacks in their first preseason game. I don't make any proclamations or change any opinions that much on preseason because it just feels like guys like Kenny Pickett lights it up. Daniel Jones lights it up. These guys light it up, and then when it gets to the actual games, it doesn't translate. Like sometimes it just feels like the opposite of what happens in preseason happens in the regular season. But with Caleb, we'll talk about what they did and did well and did bad. I mean, those were some throws, right? Mm-hmm. Like the 3rd and 10 where they run the 3 curls with the flare route. A lot of quarterbacks just throw that check down, get 6 yards, 4th and 4, punt the ball. He hung in there, delivers to DJ Moore instead of checking it down. You had that no-look screen pass, and then the play that we all loved was like that 32-yard play-action rope to Cole Kmet. I mean, it almost looks like his arm got stronger the way the ball is just fucking firing out of his hand on the run. There was mistakes on there as well, right? Missed a throw, had almost an interception on a play they call pass interference, but like the way the ball comes out of his way off platform is just kind of nuts.
I think it was significant to see how often they rolled him out, at least to start. That could be an approach that they use, like those play action rollouts. Like, hey, let's go to his strengths, where even if he's rolling to his right, he can make a throw 35 yards down the field to a tight end down the field. He could throw it back towards the middle of the field that he wants, and it's not an irresponsible throw since he could put such strength and velocity on that ball too. So I don't think they should spam that rollout too often early in his career because I think you're eliminating a good part of the field. But then he showed that he can make the throw on the run. He showed that he can make, all right, yeah, the pocket's collapsing. There's a screen in front of me. It's unconventional. It's not coming together right. Let me just throw it over my shoulder. And then, of course, I love that he showed the one throw where he was able to stand in the pocket and he looked to his right, started going to his left, came back to DJ Moore, drove that ball towards the middle of the field, and stayed in the pocket. So, I mean, really, it was nothing crazy from Caleb Williams. Like they're even, I think there's even a good amount of quarterbacks that can make that throw on the run on the sideline, right? But I think it's the fact that Caleb Williams made it all look very simple. Like those are simple Caleb Williams plays. That's the part that's the most fun to me, and he's going to be super fun this year.
Man, I like the way he uses his legs when he needs to, right? Whether it is moving to throw or, hey, they got man coverage with 2 safeties deep. Everyone's covered well. I take off and have a 13-yard run, right? No one's got their eyes on me. Okay, now's my time to run. So, he also had a drop from DJ Moore. Again, a couple bad plays, right? I know it got called defensive holding, but that pass that he forced on the out, like, should have never thrown that, right? That could have very easily been an interception. If he threw the ball away on the first play, but if he hung in there, there could have been a nice throw there to be had. So, wasn't perfect by any means, but you just were reminded like why this guy has been projected to go first for so long and why you're so excited to see him in Chicago.
I wouldn't have been any more excited. I mean, I think it's great to see him play, put on a Bears helmet and uniform, and you're like, oh, that's awesome. But I was excited the minute that if I was a Bears fan, the minute I knew that we had the first pick. It's that simple, because I knew that for the first time, it feel like our offense is in the 21st century. Like, this is going to change Chicago offensive football forever. It just is. They've never had a guy quite like this. I know Jay Cutler was a good, like, interesting, fun quarterback at times. Nowhere close to what this guy's talent is. And so it's going to be off the charts, great and fun and exciting. And hell, I love the NFC North.
Oh, absolutely. And like even that screen pass on the no look where DeAndre Swift got 40 yards or whatever it was, like as much as like you don't want to like overhype that, like that's still, most guys aren't doing that, right? And it may not make the biggest difference in the world, but it can make the difference of one D lineman chasing you from behind or, stopping you from following a block.
It was a 30-yard play. It was an explosive play.
Yeah. So it was just, it just kind of confirmed and reminded you like, man, this guy can play some fucking ball.
Yeah. If I'm a Chicago fan, I'm watching those 3 plays on repeat. The throw to DJ Moore, the screen, and then the throw on the run. I'm watching that phone on repeat in my bed at night until I fall asleep, and the phone is on all night, just rewatching that on repeat. And the phone is on my chest. And I wake up when I wake up with my phone dead. Oh, wow, I forgot to charge it. Because I'm watching Caleb Williams over and over again. That's what I'm doing.
You wouldn't be falling asleep if you were that excited watching him. But I understand what you're saying. DeAndre Swift was asked about, playing with the kid afterward. He said that's just natural God-given ability that he has. So when you have other guys talking like that, then you're doing something okay. Can't wait. It's going to be a ton of fun. I think they take on the Tennessee Titans in week 1. Let's count it down. Let's see. Guy who went second in the draft, your reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Jayden Daniels, 2 for 3, 45 yards, ran for a score, had that long pass to De'Ami Brown. A lot of excitement that was going on with him. A lot of fun. What do we think overall? Penik, you could have first bite at this apple.
Yeah, he didn't have that many attempts, and I think we're going to, because he's just the automatic starter, we're probably going to just see more of him next week, depending on how Dan Quinn and staff treat their preseason. But I think most of these NFL teams now, week 2 is the true dress rehearsal, where it used to be week 3. Here's what I will say, though. He had the missed screen that went above the guy's head. We know that there's going to be some inaccuracy issues. It's one throw, whatever. But let's talk about the big play to De'Ami Brown. You just see how smooth and efficient and how fast that ball can come out of his hands. And I honestly do think, like, it's up there with Caleb in terms of the overall, you snap your finger and the ball can get out in a hurry. And I think that matters so much in the NFL when you're talking about pass rushers that are coming in and trying to hit you, pass rushers that are trying to get their hands on the football. And if you can get that ball out in a snap versus a lot of guys, sometimes they have a long motion. It takes them a while to get that ball out. I mean, he snaps and that ball can travel in a hurry. And that ball to De'Ami Brown was perfect. And if De'Ami Brown can get involved in this offense and be a deep ball threat that he was in college, that's cool for the Commanders. So that one throw, like, we know that Jayden Daniels can do good on the sideline and pushing the ball down deep. We know that. And if that's what that, and if they can have that in this Commanders offense this year, which, Bobby, we were just at Commanders and Jets practice, and it didn't look too fun. We didn't see Jayden Daniels throw it deep. We saw a lot of the areas in which maybe this offense may struggle in, but if they can get that going a little bit more, then the Commanders offense has a chance to survive this year.
Yeah, it was one drive versus the Jets backup, so you don't have too many takeaways. But like just said, that was a beautiful ball to De'Ami Brown.
Mm-hmm.
It was on a simple call. Third down, they ran 4 verts. And then the zone read touchdown. As much as his legs are a threat, most quarterbacks are running that in because it was just blocked so well. But I can't remember who the receiver was, and then John Bates, the tight end, did miss a screen pass. But here's a little thing that I like. This only ended up going for 1 yard. But they had the 2 receivers to the right, one covering the wide one in the slot. They had no one covering the slot. So he just takes the ball, throws it out there for a little smoke route. And again, they didn't block it up well. But just little stuff like that I kind of like. But you just deep ball was great, but he had 4 plays at the end of the day, so you don't have many takeaways from it. I have more takeaways from the camp when they were playing the starters a couple days ago, to be honest.
And actually that play was something that he changed at the line, according to Dan Quinn. And he apparently did not have permission to do it. He went up. I think they had a screen set up, is what it was.
On the vert?
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so Jayden Daniels was like, well, this is not going to work. So let's just have everybody go. And they went.
That's what he needs to do.
I have a feeling he may be doing that a lot.
Of course, Cliff Kingsbury was calling a screen on 3rd down and 4. Good job, Jay. All right, now I'm way more impressed because he's going to stick up for what he thinks is right as far as the offense.
Because Chris, they were playing the Jets starters in camp, and apologies everybody, our mics weren't the best during that episode. It was producer Justin that didn't do a good job setting it up, and it was bad. It even I was more concerned walking away from Commanders Jets joint practice, not with Jayden Daniels, but more concerned with oh my God, Cliff Kingsbury. It's a meme of we're going to throw a screen or we're going to throw it to our tight ends or we're just going to throw an out route or a hitch on the sideline, the left sideline specifically. Chris, we've been talking about it all offseason. It happened in Jets practice. I'm like, this is maddening. So I'm good for Jayden Daniels to audible out of that. And I hope Dan Quinn didn't get mad at him. I hope they reinforced it because I have a feeling that Jayden Daniels is going to need to do a whole lot of that this year if the Commanders are going to have, again, offensive success.
Well, Dan Quinn, here's his quote. It's probably not a good reference for you guys, even though they did remake this movie. Quinn said, I thought of the movie Top Gun. Do I have permission to buzz the tower? No, Ghost Rider. The pattern is full. So he said, Quinn said, I think that on this one, he wanted to ask for forgiveness and not permission.
Well, who was the hero of that movie?
Yeah, it'll be Jayden Daniels. It'll be Jayden Daniels. So, listen, we all know that Kingsbury can easily get in the way of this kid's development, and we all pray that does not happen because he does have talent. I think out of these guys that were all drafted, I think he might be the biggest project of them all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And this is a franchise that needs the help. They have had 12 different starting quarterbacks in the last 6 seasons whose combined record is 36, 62, and 1. Let's clean it up there. Come on. New ownership, new architect, new coach, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. Let's at least make it fun for people to watch him. Let's at least have a few moments. Do we need to talk about Drake? I think we do. He appeared in one series,
Patriots
won 2
pissed me off.
What? Whoa.
We're going up there to bully them to hey, can we see Drake Maye do something fun?
He's not your starter. You only gave him one, and not even just one series. They threw a screen pass on 3rd and long. Then they had the first down where he was a little late and high on that play action curl flat, which is about as basic of the fucking concept as you can run. And then a check down on 3rd and 10 on all curls. What you shouldn't even let him play if that's what you're going to do with him. They didn't even let him make a decision. He didn't really have any decision to make on his 3 throws.
So, oh boy. Is there any chance he plays in the London game in week 7 against Jacksonville?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think he's in play to play it by that point.
You think so?
But we gotta I'm concerned.
But what if he doesn't? Like, he should have gotten the entire first half if he's not slated to be the starter. Why not give him the entire first half?
I'm concerned that we're hearing more stupid, dumb rumblings out of camp that Joe Milton looks better than Drake Maye, which it's not true.
That was just that Ben Volen guy. That's not real.
But I don't want that to be the only storyline coming out of Patriots camp as it relates to Drake Maye. Like I want to have a conversation about what we're seeing with Drake Maye. So that's why, Bob, by the time that you're listening to this, Bobby and I will be witnessing a Patriots practice as it unfolds, and we will be bullying them to play Drake Maye more.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the whole idea here is we start fresh. Like, Bill Belichick is no longer there. You might take some things that he has done. Obviously, Gerard Mayo played for him and coached for him and the whole bit, but set your own identity. Like, you have a chance to hit the reset button now with a guy who's uber talented in Drake Maye. We get it if you don't want to start him week 1 and your schedule out of the gate is kind of rough. We know that. But you should be doing everything in your power, including playing him in a preseason game. I mean, that's nuts that he got one drive. It is insane. Did anybody see an explanation other than the field was a little bit wet? And oh, by the way, we do have bad weather during the year as well in the regular season.
Yeah, that's a bad excuse. He's not your starter. Like, I don't understand what you're protecting. Because you got to get Jacoby Brissett some snaps at some point. So, like, how much? Like, Drake Maye should have the most snaps out of any quarterback on the Patriots roster in preseason. Like, he's the guy you just drafted, and he's not slated to be your starter. He should be getting a good amount of playing time.
In part because, like, you're talking about a complex offense. You're talking about hearing a voice in your head. You're talking about wanting to make some adjustments at the line of scrimmage. I know that we're not game planning big time. But you need to get him used to this sort of stuff because you know what? Once the season starts, like, it's not like they go 50-50 with the ones in practice. That does not happen.
No, you don't get any snaps with the ones. And again, it wasn't like it was like, oh, well, he got one drop or like it was a 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 12 screen pass.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that does nothing for him. The first down, curl flat. Again, ball was a little late, ball's high. Not good. And then on 3rd and 10, you run all curls and he checks it down. Like, put him in some more just like shotgun drop back, read a defender and make a decision. Like, he didn't really have any of that.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing what you guys report from up there. I can't wait to hear about like the divvying up of the snaps. Like, everybody will tell you, every coach will tell you that these joint practices are significantly more important than the preseason games. I would argue yes, except for maybe a rookie quarterback who needs
you got to be able to feel the idea of like you can get hit on this and a play ends if you get set.
Right. So I don't know. It just doesn't make much sense. Sometimes
a good thing is people haven't really got to see Drake Maye yet, so they're gonna have to trust us and listen to the show on Wednesday.
That's right.
I love that. Okay, here we go. The most interesting guy of the bunch, in my opinion, Michael Penix. 9 of 16 as he got the start for the Falcons. 104, no touchdowns, no picks. The highlight was a 41-yarder to Chris Blair down the right side. He did lead Atlanta to 10 points. Go ahead. I know you've been chomping at the bit on this one. Go ahead. Go ahead, Bobby.
I actually thought he basically went 16 for 16 on good decisions, 15 for 16. He almost got intercepted on that 3rd down at the end. But I wanted to read you some notes on the throws. Missed deep shot on 3rd down, but good read of safety rotation. Corner route, a little too wide, just went out of bounds. Would have been deep ball versus cover 3. Guy gets beat, 1, right? Ball sailed on an out route. Move linebacker with pump to hit. I posted this on Twitter. Good play. Missed the deep pass on an alert. A throw in the flat a little behind. Missed the pass on a check. He made great decisions outside of one, but he was just a little bit off accuracy wise. But like, you just actually big boy quarterbacking, he did the best out of all of them. Like, he was moving guys with his shoulders and eyes and pump fakes and reading safeties really well. He was just like kind of inaccurate on half the throws.
He threw to all 3 levels. Yep, had 3 deep attempts.
Pushing the ball down the field. It was fun to watch. It was just got to make the throws.
Yeah, and I even really, really admired too the ability to keep his eyes downfield. He maneuvered the pocket well, which that was one of the things that I feel like what you have to take the preseason and how they performed in the preseason. You kind of want to take it within the context of how they performed in college too, and maybe some of your thoughts there. You don't want to just look at it, on its own. And one of the things that I thought he did well at Washington was moving within the pocket. Like that is how Michael Penix is going to survive in the NFL. It's going to be similar to what how a Joe Brady keeps a play alive within the pocket, how a Tom Brady kept a play alive within the pocket, not how Caleb Williams and Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson keeps the play alive, right? So it's going to be very different. And I thought that we didn't see anything extravagant, but we did see him step up in the pocket, move his shoulders, try and move the ball around a little bit. And I just liked I am going to throw the ball deep. I am going to be Michael Penix Jr. I like that. I like the willingness and the aggression of, hey, if I have Drake London or actually a starting wide receiver that's catching this football on the sideline, maybe they come down with it. Wasn't there maybe even a drop touchdown that was in there too? So yeah, I was very happy with what I saw with Michael Penix. Just he looked confident, and for somebody who could have easily come out and not be confident, he did look confident, comfortable, and in control, which I admire.
So these games are cute and everything, and it's going to probably be, as long as Kirk Cousins is healthy, the only time we see Michael Penix play, except maybe, mop-up duty or anything like that, over the next 2 years. And the thing that's going to make him become the number 8 overall pick worthwhile is what he does behind the scenes when none of us are watching. Like putting in the time, picking up the offense, doing great in practice, because that's exactly what happened with Jordan Love in Green Bay. It's exactly what happened. He was missing in action for 3 years in Green Bay, and he came out, and in year 4, it was his chance to shine. He had one career start to his name before 2023, and he wowed the world, and now he's got a $220 million contract with a $75 million signing bonus. So whatever we see out of Michael Penix does nothing for us in 2024 unless Kirk Cousins gets hurt.
And it's also, again, why you don't pay attention to the preseason too much, because these are very basic defense. So it's like if you know what you're seeing, you know where to put the ball, 10 times out of 10 if you're a pro QB, and he's someone who has been in college a long time and understands that type of stuff. So again, I liked what I saw, but you can't miss, right? Again, I thought he went 15 of 16 on making the right decision, but he only completed 9 passes. I don't think that's good enough.
Yeah, but it will be. I think he'll get better in all of that sort of stuff. I mean, the fact that he was on target mentally, that's good. That's a great sign for a guy who's just a couple weeks in the best.
Between the ears quarterbacking, I thought he was the best by far out of all the guys.
Yeah, I mean, so really, we have to revisit the Michael Penix question in 3 years from now, because we can't answer it right now or next year unless there's some catastrophic injury for Kirk Cousins. He's not going to play poorly, I don't think. He might play not as well as he did last year, where he was off to the best start of his career, but he's not going to be a bad quarterback. Kirk Cousins he's come too far to be a bad quarterback at this point.
Bobby, did you think the ball, I was pretty surprised to see how fast the ball came out of his hands.
Penix?
Yeah.
Like release-wise or just like timing-wise?
Release, I have questions about, I have to look at the release because I think I have questions on how fast he can get the ball out of his hands, but I'm talking about from release to hitting receivers' hands.
Arm strength? Are you what?
Yeah, because
he's got a good arm.
We didn't see it a ton. A lot of the stuff that I saw was just we're going deep and we're putting air on the ball. We're putting air on the ball, and we knew the arm strength was there, but to see it consistently in the quick game on an NFL field, we're used to watching on NFL cameras and all that crap. I think that stuff matters. I was like, oh, this ball is arriving to the receiver's hands faster than I anticipated.
Yeah, sometimes too fast when you're running, a tight end on a flat. It should be in front of him and not on his back hip.
Right.
So again, those were the issues I had with Penix.
Shall we move on to the number 10 overall pick, J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, the most up and down performance I thought out of this, where it's like some really good, some really bad, and a little bit of in the middle. What do you think, Rose? Because you
hold on one second.
Let
me give you the numbers just real quick for people that didn't see his game against the Raiders. 11 of 17, 188 in relief of Sam Darnold, a couple of touchdowns. He got picked off on his third pass by Jack Jones. Sorry, you can continue on now.
What do you think? Because me and Justin were like two people who were like, our team was in the quarterback hunt and they passed on J.J. McCarthy. What do you think out of McCarthy's first action?
Well, I think first of all he's the biggest unknown because he didn't do much at Michigan. Like really, for a guy who made 28 starts, none of us are like, well, can he be an NFL quarterback? Because I just didn't see much out of him. Like, do you remember one throw the guy ever made? I remember one against Ohio State where he threaded the needle for a touchdown. I believe it was to Roman Wilson, to be honest. But other than that, like for a guy who started almost 30 games and big games in his college career, I don't remember anything for him. I thought he threw the ball pretty well. I've said this all along. He is in an amazing situation. He is in an amazing situation right now. He's got a guy in front of him who can start in Sam Darnold, but isn't so good that they're going to have to leave him on the bench forever. And we know that. So when Kevin O'Connell's like, you know what? Kid's smart. He's ready. Let's bring him in. Justin Jefferson was talking him up big time on the broadcast. So you know that's a win. I don't think he was doing it just to do it. I think he was doing it because he sees some things that make him excited. And the fact that he bounced back after that first interception and didn't get gun shy, I thought that was a really good sign, particularly for a guy who, once again, was not asked. I'm sure there were times he didn't even throw the ball 18 times in Ann Arbor in a game.
Oh, Penn State, I think they threw it 8 times.
I was unfortunately at that game.
It was like the biggest positive takeaway is that throw up the left sideline. One, because that was a throw where you kind of had to trust your receiver's leverage. It wasn't just he won and throw the ball deep, and it was extremely accurate and that's where he struggles, is throwing deep to the left sideline. Like really struggles. So you saw that. You saw like a nice little hole shot that he had. And some just like good quick game stuff. And then the negative, like you said, the interception versus the blitz. I mean, that was just a really bad football.
Mm-hmm.
He had a couple misses in the flats. I'm going through my notes. Let's see. The couple other, there's, that play where I thought he might be able to pull the trigger on a whole shot, and it was like an incomplete pass, but it was almost a fumble the way it came out of his hands. And some other like decent quick game stuff, and then he had that wide open touchdown. I mean, cool that he hit it, but that doesn't really mean much. So I just thought it was up and down. But the nice thing about the up was that it was like kind of his biggest weakness was like throwing against leverage up the deep left sideline, and he did that well.
I'll tell you the truth. Minnesota comes to Cleveland this week for joint practices, and then we've got the game with them on Saturday. So I'm excited. I hope he gets the chance to start. Like, there'd be no reason not to start him. What are you going to let Nick Mullins or Jaron Hall start the game? Like, let's get J.J. McCarthy in there, even if it's against the Browns, like, third stringers. Who cares? Let him get in there and let him try and do his thing. Once again, this is another opportunity for a guy to go get some serious reps, in my opinion. What do you think, Penik?
No, I agree with Bobby. Like that throw on the left sideline was the best. The play that always makes me go, oh wow, is when a quarterback can navigate a pocket, step up. I think it was the third down. It was one of the first.
I think it was his first throw of the game.
Oh, okay. Then it was the first. Then it was one of his first throws of the game where he climbs a pocket, steps up, drives the ball to the middle of the field, and it's a first down. I mean, but we know J.J. McCarthy can certainly do that. There was also a scramble that I think he had where he had kind of pressure. You have a guy that's kind of grabbing at him. He scrambles out of it, and then you got to see the legs on display too. So McCarthy, out of all these guys, because of partially my own bias and my own takes about him, but that is a guy that I do need to see going up against. Like, all right, I want to see you up against NFL speed and NFL like the way that you're going to have to process a field and the windows that are going to close, they're going to be different when you have first stringers out there. They're going to be different when you're going to have defensive coordinators that are going to be planning and defenders that are going to try and bait you into some throws. So, I mean, the stuff that we needed to see, I think the stuff that we needed to see out of JJ was awesome. And I think just from a volume standpoint, his highs of like the best of JJ McCarthy may have been some of the highest. I think they were the highest out of all the rookie quarterbacks that we saw.
Yeah, that deep pass was the best pass of all these. Yeah. Actually, the Caleb to Komet throw I liked a little better.
But still,
that was the best pass.
Caleb had like 3 of those plays that you're like, oh, that's Caleb Williams, versus JJ McCarthy had way more of a sample size to feed off of to get excited from. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at with JJ. Like we gotta see it, and I want to see it when it picks up for him, because that's when I think he may struggle a little bit more, is when just things get a whole lot faster.
If you were Kevin O'Connell, how much would you let him run with the ones this week in Cleveland against a pretty good Browns defense?
I'd give him some, right? Just to get I hate to use Giants experience, but it's the experience I know the most. 2019, now he didn't get any first reps in practice, but they didn't have any joint practices that year, I don't believe. But Pat Shurmur would put Daniel Jones in the game for Eli Manning and leave all the other starters in and let him get some reps with those guys. So I think a joint practice would be a good time to do that, but maybe Kevin O'Connell is so set on Darnold starting that he doesn't want to even open up some type of controversy and mess with Darnold. So I guess it's up to they know best, I think, when it comes to that situation. But yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to see him get some snaps versus that first team Cleveland defense? Because I would assume they probably don't play the first team defense in that game.
No, nobody's going to play. Like when there's joint practices, I know that the Browns aren't going to play anybody in that game.
Right.
So he'll see, second stringers at best. He might get the third and fourth string guys.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, selfishly, I would love to see. Are you going to make it to any of those or no?
I am not. The work schedule is a little
Doesn't Cleveland
stream
their practices though?
They do, but they're not going to show.
They
won't show the team. Well, they won't show the team. They'll show the individual drills.
Okay,
that's fine. And other than that, it's like shut it down. Every team is that way. I was just at Niners practice last Monday, and they let us shoot like the first 4 periods.
They're very paranoid.
Oh my God.
It's so fun. Like no one's changing their week 1 game plan based off of clips on Twitter. Nobody.
And not only that, I mean, really, don't we all run the same stuff?
Yeah, that's like we know your playbooks, by the way, too. Like you do play in the preseason. You're not high. Like it's one thing once you get down the stretch, but like right now, this is just kind of installing the basics of your playbook. You're not game planning like, hey, their corner does this, so like you're just. And no team is changing anything about their game plan based off of a Twitter clip.
Not at all. All right, let's get to the last quarterback of the first round, Bo Nix. It was Jarrett Stidham that got the start Sunday in Indianapolis, but then Bo Nix came in quickly and played with the ones a little bit. He finished 15 of 21, 125, including his first touchdown toss. He ran 3 times for 17 yards, and most importantly, I believe, he had 4 scoring drives. Okay. So this is the most open competition, right? Caleb's going to be the starter in Chicago. Jayden Daniels is going to be the starter in Washington. Drake Maye is going to ride the pine. Michael Penix we'll see in 3 seasons or whatever it is. J.J. McCarthy we just talked about. And so Bo Nix has a legitimate shot at this. Sean Payton said all 3 of my quarterbacks played very well. Statistically, he's right. But Bo Nix, he's going to be the week 1 starter.
He should be. He looked exactly like Bo Nix. Like it was like, oh, this I'm watching Bo Nix, and it looked exactly like him, right? 15 to 21, and I think there was a couple of drops in there too. I thought he did really well getting the ball out in the right spots, quick game type of stuff. Low average at the target. Did a really good job using his legs, whether it was times where he ran or extended the play and made some throws. And then had some RPO, right? The touchdown was an RPO. That's Bo Nix. Didn't push the ball down the field. The one that he did went through Josh Reynolds' hands. Sorry, too soon, Lions fans. So it was all low average depth of target. But the first play almost intercepted. And it wasn't because of a bad decision. It was just like there's just not a ton of juice on that football.
He also almost got Dulcich killed on it.
Yeah, that too. So, but it was like it was the ultimate. It looked like Oregon was playing, honestly. So you saw like all the good, but you also saw like the negative. It's like, yeah, but you're not pushing the ball down the field a ton, and the arm talent is just solid. It's not amazing.
Right. So I mean, I trust them. I think their Broncos are going to be a decently good offensive staying on schedule. Now, Chris, again, this is just preseason. How many of those drives ended in touchdowns out of the 4 that he had scoring?
At least 2.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can get that for you.
Because I think that's going to be a big thing for the Broncos this year. Is I think they'll be able to sustain drives. It's just the difference between field goals and touchdowns. And again, it's a preseason game. I'm not making any proclamations now, but with the low average at the target, lack of ability to push the ball down the field, and even not even push the ball down the field, maybe in the intermediate part to drive the ball towards the sidelines. So that's my. I think Bo Nix should start because I think he can operate that Sean Payton offense very well. But how willing is Bo Nix willing to get an explosive play, and then also is Sean Payton going to give him those opportunities?
So I think he had 2 field goals, 2 touchdowns, were the drives with Bo Nix at the helm.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's great. Are you kidding me? Like first time.
Yeah, and the other one, the receiver fumbled the ball. So
right. Yeah. So he listen, to me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, let's look at the rest of the quarterback room. Jared Stidham. Come on. I'm sorry. I'm not running to go buy my Jared Stidham jersey, with all due respect. Like, if he can be a backup in this league, great. Congratulations. Zach Wilson, we've had enough time on this show with him. This is a no-brainer. Let's see what we've got. Let's, build an offense that works to the best of Bo Nix's ability. I imagine he played in 17 different offenses in the 17 years that he was in college. So we can find one that, suits him perfectly and then go from there. Like, to me, this is just such a no-brainer. It's just.
Yeah, I wouldn't waste any more time on this. Get him all the first team snaps, like you said.
Do you think that Sean Payton makes that announcement this week?
Well, Nix is the starter for the next preseason game, I think Sean Payton announced. But I don't know how they'll do practice. But it just seems like it's all headed that way anyways.
It should be. All right, so there's your 6 first-round quarterbacks. Anything else catch your eye before we move on to Brandon Aiyuk?
Michael Pratt had this. No, I'm just kidding. That's basically, I watched the Giants preseason, Justin Fields, and then all 6 of the rookie QBs. That was basically the extent of preseason.
That's enough. That's enough. Yeah. We all love football. We all love preseason football, but it can be a little rough. I will say this.
You see the highlights on Twitter of like the guys you like and stuff. So you get your feed of it, right?
Graham Barton was moving people against the Browns.
I'm scared that Trey Benson might just be a bust. I've never seen a running back look so bad. Like he was just like, he looked afraid out there. I'm like, what's going on? Where did the burst and the aggression go here? Christian Haynes looked good for the Seahawks at guard. I mean, there's a lot of film out there on these rookie preseason.
Chris had a reaction to my Graham Barton.
Well, yeah, because he didn't play against the Browns. You mean against the Bengals?
Yep, got my orange teams confused. I may be called
orange teams from Ohio. It's okay. Okay, Brandon Aiyuk, still a Niner as of the taping of this show. The latest report is that the Niners and Aiyuk's camp have opened up negotiations yet again. This past week, Diana Rossini of The Athletic had reported that the Patriots had agreed to good compensation to a $32 million a year extension for Aiyuk. And then Aiyuk said, thank you, but I will pass. There was another report by Matt Maiocco, who covers the Niners, and he said that the Browns had a deal on the table for Aiyuk for a 2, a 5, and Amari Cooper. And Aiyuk said no. Apparently the money was not as good as the Patriots offer, but was significantly better than what the Niners were offering. I can tell you this, having been in Cleveland this weekend, that was not 100% accurate.
Wait, you said a 2, a 5, and Amari Cooper?
Yeah, that's
and insane. Amari?
Yeah, you can forget about that.
Okay, so you were in San Fran this week too, though, right?
I was there on Monday.
What the hell is going on? Because I have no idea what's going on with this shit. And I don't believe anything anymore.
All I can tell you is this. When we got up there for practice, we did our 4-hour show for NFL Network on Tuesday. This is, 6 days ago now. And Aiyuk was in the building, we were told. There were times in recent practices where he was out of practice. We saw that one clip where he gives a big hug to his coach and kind of shakes hands a little bit with John Lynch. That's it. But most of the time he spends inside. But we asked Nick Bosa about it because remember a year ago he actually held out. And he said, I can only imagine how challenging it is for Brandon Aiyuk to be here every day and to see us every day. And for me, it was hard enough being away from the boys, but at least I was kind of away from it. Here, he's still in the thick of it. He said, I don't know how he's doing it. So this is the way I read it. It's just up to Brandon Aiyuk. What does he want? If he really, really wants to get to Pittsburgh, I don't know how they're going to do it because it sure as hell doesn't sound like the Steelers and the Niners are a match from San Francisco's side of things. Is there a third team that maybe can get into it where some other team can send a pro right now instead of a draft pick to San Francisco? Because there's no way you can justify letting Brandon Aiyuk go for just draft picks at this point. You cannot do it.
No, they're in such a win now mode, and it's not like they're just totally strapped through cap. Like Aiyuk, Ward, and Hufanga are the only guys that are like part of that core who are unsigned through 2025, where they're already projected to have $23 million of cap space. Like Purdy, McCaffrey, Debo, Aiyuk, Kittle, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Hargrave. Those guys are. Sorry, I said Aiyuk. Those guys are all like signed through there. It's just Hufanga, who I think is the most expendable out of their all pro top tier players. Ward is getting up there in age. I know they signed McCaffrey or changed McCaffrey's deal, so that might be a little bit different. But 2026 is the year where they have nearly $50 million in void contracts, and you also have a Purdy contract start to kick in, but they also have $80 million in cap space at that point. So they're in such a win now mode that they can't do this unless like you said, that Amari Cooper thing. Like that raised my attention. Like, oh, maybe that because Cooper's awesome and he's amazing and he'd fit in there perfectly. But they need to get this done one way or the other.
And it doesn't feel like they would. It doesn't feel like the Steelers would include George Pickens. On a deal,
God, no.
I think should they?
The 49ers shouldn't want George Pickens anyway.
No, they don't want him. There's no way. No. I don't see that happening. Do not see that happening. That's the last thing that they need to do right now.
So I do think
talk about an offense based on timing. The receiver who's probably got some of the worst timing in the NFL, despite being really good. But
I do think the 49ers wanting a pro in return. I do think that seems like it should be a real thing. I think the 49ers should want that. Because if the 49ers are if they're just getting draft picks, right? Then I don't know if a 49ers team without Brandon Aiyuk and a Debo Samuel that could get hurt, a Trent Williams that could get hurt, a Christian McCaffrey that has a calf strain right now, I'm not feeling great about them. Automatic NFC Championship appearance. I'm not feeling great about that anymore.
No. I mean, absolutely not. The Niners, I think both sides, both Aiyuk and the Niners, misjudged how this was going to play out. I think San Francisco just figured, okay, we're going to make this work. Eventually, he's going to come back to us and all that. If not, they would have traded him prior to the draft and gotten draft capital for this year. So at least they could have gotten somebody in camp that could have helped this team right away. And with Aiyuk, I think that he felt, well, they gave Nick Bosa his deal. They've given Christian McCaffrey his extension. They gave Debo Samuel his deal. I feel like I might even be a better player than Debo, so they're going to give me my money eventually. I don't think he felt like he was going to be faced with the opportunity to say, you want to go here, here, or here? And then have to decide between three teams, maybe two of which he does not want to play for, and that's his prerogative. And by the way, I understand him wanting to get his money. I understand it because he actually has some leverage right now. What happens if he goes and plays for the Niners this year on a $14.25 million deal for this last season, and he blows out his knee in week 4. Then who's paying Brandon Aiyuk all that money? I don't know.
Yeah, obviously, Aiyuk should be looking for to get a biggest contract, but it's like we don't know what's going on. Because, like you said, New England supposedly was willing to do it, and he didn't want to go to New England. So, like, what is the dollar amount that gets him in San Fran? Is it 30 per year, or is it 31?
Well, they're not going to
29.5 per year. Like, what is it that keeps him in San Fran?
Well, it's going to have to be lower than those numbers.
But I'm saying from Aiyuk's side, like, what would he just like? Okay, I'm done. I'm signing this. 32. You know, the AJ Brown deal, which is like the second highest for wide receivers right now. Like, what would make him sign in San Fran?
He's not going to for those numbers. That's what I'm saying. I don't think the team gives him that option. It's probably going to be mid-20s, 26, 27. I know he sees the wide receiver market going off the board, and he is, if you talk to people around the league and say, who are your top 2 route runners, it's probably the 2 guys we've mentioned in a possible trade for one another, Amari Cooper and Brandon Aiyuk. Like, those might be the 2 best. Throw Justin Jefferson in there. And I don't know. It's
so how does
weird,
it play out? That's the thing is where, like,
my guess, they have $52 million this year. My guess is they almost give him a franchise tag this year. You give him the franchise tag, you sign him for 1 year, and then he hits the open market at the end of the year. They have $52 million this year.
Well, I don't think they can franchise him now.
No, I'm talking about it's this.
You mean the equivalent of him?
The equivalent of it. That's almost like what the Giants did with Saquon last year. Is that when they signed him to that 1-year deal, it's basically the franchise tag, but it's just a way to get through this year while everybody's happy, so we're not pissed off at each other for the entire year. There's still going to be angst, but I think the best way, because now the 49ers have opened the door, and this is kind of cool. My theory of F you just play on your contract. The 49ers opened the door, and they said, all right, you think the grass is greener? Go out and find something. And he hasn't been able to find it, because guess what? $32 million from the Patriots sounds nice, but it's the New England Patriots, and it's not a great infrastructure right now. It could be with Drake Maye and Brandon Aiyuk. But I still view that as a major chance for Brandon Aiyuk, who is right now 26 years old and very much could sign a contract for 3 years, hit free agency again, and then get paid maybe even more money with the way that the salary cap goes up. So here's my theory. Rework a deal where it's 1 year, where it's $30 million. If he wants $30 million, $30 million, that'll put him in the top 3, top 5 for average annual value for wide receivers. He plays this year, he gets his money, and the 49ers have an opportunity to re-sign him, or he hits the open market next year.
But what's the incentive of San Fran doing that?
That's the thing, other than having Brandon Aiyuk, but I don't think at that number.
Having Brandon Aiyuk as part of your Super Bowl team.
Is he going to pass up $14 million and miss games? I just don't see that happening at the end of the day.
I don't either.
So he won't hold out. Rose.
Maybe a game.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And plus,
he's not even doing a real holdout. He's in San Fran. He's doing a hold in.
Right. I believe, I hate to say this if I'm wrong, though. Don't you have to accrue a certain number of games to get a full year of service time credit? Like if he didn't, there was 1 year, and I forget who it was. Was it Le'Veon Bell who didn't play at all and sat out and didn't get that year? Somebody did not get, this happened within the last 5 or 10 years.
I think it was Le'Veon.
Yeah, who did not accrue that year. He played a game of chicken, and I mean, eventually he won because he got an enormous deal elsewhere, but well, okay. All interesting. Let's leave it with this. Is Brandon Aiyuk in a Niners uniform week 1 against the New York Jets on Monday Night Football? Justin Penik.
I'm gonna say no.
Bobby?
Yes, because if he wasn't going to be, it would have happened by now. San Fran is not desperate to get rid of him.
When I was on the air last Tuesday, I would have said he would not be. And now that it's gone on another week, I am going to say he will be. But check back with me next week.
At $14 million?
No.
I think they should at least. I know all offseason I've been the dick that's been like, don't be like the NBA, blah, blah, play. But I think for a 49er team that has $52 million right now, I'm not talking about, they're obviously in the negative and they're in the red, next year, but they have $52 million right now, and it's just 1 year, and make the guy, even if it's not $30 million, $25 million.
Cap rolls over. So if they were going to do that, if they were going to front load something, they might as well get a long-term deal done.
Yeah.
All right. We continue on. Guys, have a good, safe trip up there to Boston. Have fun at Foxborough. Get Dre makes some snaps out there for us, okay?
Oh, we will. We will.
We appreciate it. We will see you later on in this week and get you all set for weekend number 2 in the preseason. For Justin Penik and Bobby Skinner and our awesome producer, Mikey, I am Chris Rose. We will see you next time here on Football Today.